Alright, hey guys, Grandmaster Popo here again, and there has been a certain question echoing throughout the world. Which is better, Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Super? This is a big, no, huge subject that I can't cover by myself. So with me today is a very special guest, the President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You're lovely host, Popo. Thank you.
So, Mr. Trump, how has Dragon Ball affected you?
You're gonna have to speak English.
Okay. How did you feel when watching Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z?
Tremendous.
As a fan yourself, do you think it needs more appreciation from the States?
We owe Japan more than that, and it only makes sense.
Do you consider yourself to be...
Hey, Popo.
Hey, Art. I'm kind of in the middle of an interview right now.
The interviews got switched up.
That's strange.
I was just at the White House having a conversation with Vladimir Putin when they figured out that our meetups got mixed up.
How does that happen?
It can happen. I fully understand.
Well, thank you, Mr. Trump, for answering some questions for me.
That's alright.
I hope we can do it again sometime.
Whatever you want.
You know, I was wondering why I was having a Dragon Ball discussion with the President of the United States. How do they get mixed up?
It was a simple miracle, Popo. Nothing more, nothing less.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
So, are we gonna do the video?
Wait for it.
Wait for what?
Well, there was supposed to be a cut right about now.
For this comparison, we're gonna be looking at both series, taking into account a list of factors.
Whichever series does one element the best will get the point, then we'll move on to the next factor.
Something that will also have to be accounted for is to not look through the rose-tinted goggles of nostalgia, making sure that both series are judged equally on their merits, not based on any personal bias.
So, with that being said, what are the guidelines for this particular comparison, I hear you ask? For this particular comparison, we're going to use three main categories. There is story, characters, and animation.
These will all have smaller factors that we will take into consideration when judging, such as pacing and movement, and just because we give a series one category over another, doesn't mean it's bad.
So, with the explanations out of the way, let's get right into comparing Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super. Not exactly the first thing that comes to people's minds when they hear the words Dragon Ball, but they add a lot to the story.
The development of characters is a big part for both series, but which one does it better? Well, to start off, let's do the most basic comparison, comparing Goku from Z and Super. At the beginning of Z, Goku's a family man, but towards the end of it, he runs out on his family completely to train some random boy that's just the reincarnation of a space demon.
Although this is a huge dick move, he at least spent time with his family to raise his son Gohan, talking about him later, albeit for a little while until he dies against Raditz. Fast forward to the Cell games and he is training his son to be better than himself. This is Goku, the guy who literally lives to be strong enough to overcome anything. Now compare this to Super. He completely disregards his family after the first episode to go train.
Now granted, he still does love his family, as shown in the scene where he's holding Pan, and then later on when he hears about the death of Goten and Chi-Chi from Black. But that's the problem. These moments are few and far between. However, a character that does get a lot of development in Super, and not as much in Z, is Vegeta.
Vegeta does have a lot of powerful moments in Z, such as his Sand Pride speech to Goku, and him sacrificing himself to save everyone from Boo. In Super though, it focuses on not just having moments like these, but also fleshing out the character himself. From scenes training under Whis to his advice to Kaba in the Universal Tournament, we get some insight to the character, and it makes him feel, well, more real.
Something else Super does well is bring back old characters that were long forgotten, namely the Pilaf gang, who are now a major part.
For better or worse.
As much as Popo is annoyed by their antics, it's nice to see that these characters aren't forgotten and still have something to bring to the series.
Another good example is Trunks. Even though it was a ton of fan service, the Return of the Future Warrior makes for the best arc in Super as of the making of this video.
How do the villains compare to that of Z? This is by far one of Super's biggest downfalls, from the rehash of Frieza to the alright villain that Zamasu was. None of them hold up to the villains like Cell, Vegeta, and even Z's Frieza.
Zamasu was an interesting character at the beginning of the arc, but as it went on, he just became more of a brat than a character to be interested by.
Both series do their part in giving Gohan development, although Z messed around with what they wanted the character to be, a scholar or a fighter. Super focuses almost strictly on the scholarly side of him.
That was until more recently, because he is now a major fighter in the Universe Survival arc. So I guess he's going to be making a comeback as a fighter. Anyways, because the villains and main characters are fleshed out, the point goes to Dragon Ball Z. Okay, before we even touch this subject, Z is done and Super is not. That's obvious. But we can compare the series based on the episodes we do in fact have. Dragon Ball Super just recently ended its Great Saiyaman arc on episode 74. Similarly, Z also ended one of its arcs on episode 74, that being the Ginyu Force.
Super is already a lot further along without having nearly as much filler as its predecessor. It's great to see that the pacing is similar to that of Kai, and it gets the story moving. In terms of substance, it hits all the main points still without dragging on any unnecessary elements, unless you're talking about all of the Resurrection F arc with its painful animation pacing.
As bad as it was refreshing when it was over to go back to the tournaments that were in classic Dragon Ball, however, on a somewhat larger scale. Another thing Super did well was the Zamasu arc. Say what you will about the character of Zamasu, but the way we were able to return to the future world and have Vegito return was straight up amazing. And where are we right now in Z again? Just at the ending of the Ginyu Saga.
Now you could argue that Kai was actually in the Cell arc around episode 74, but that's not the point. We're taking a look at Z and Super, not Kai. With that being said, the point goes to Super.
There's something wrong.
What do you mean something's wrong?
There's a disturbance that's destroying time and space as we know it.
You mean the fact that angry fanboys are typing rapidly on their keyboards in the comments?
That's exactly what it is. They're triggered by the fact that we took a critical standpoint at both series and are pointing out Z's flaws. If there's even one more thing that they don't like, the universe will implode on itself.
Hey boys, have you ever seen the show Attack on Titan? They build a wall and it's huge. They don't just build one, they build like 5, and they're huge.
No, Donald. You have to leave.
Alright, fine. Whatever.
That could have gone a lot worse.
Has everyone calmed down?
Probably not, but we have to finish this thing before anything else can trigger them. There's just one more category left.
Comparing the animation in Super to Z is a very touchy subject. Whenever people compare the two, they often use a frame of good animation from Z and a bad one from Super.
Although there are shitty, and I mean really shitty moments in Super's animation, there are really amazing moments as well, such as the clash between Zamasu and Vegito, that took a whole new style entirely.
That being said, Z does have more consistent animation throughout, making it a lot harder to notice the animation flaws. There are some really well animated moments in Z. Some are visually stunning. With the hand-drawn animation, it looks fresh and more organic. Especially when there's a shot of a light breeze blowing the character's clothes through a dramatic standoff.
Then also when there's a power-up or a transformation. These moments are wonderfully crafted and look brilliant, which, now that I bring it up, is something Z does leagues better than Super. You don't feel a power whenever a character transforms that you're supposed to. It just kind of fails and you end up saying, well, that's neat. But that's about it.
On the first televised airing of Fukatsu no F in Japan, a little segment was added to the beginning of it. It was just about a frame-for-frame remake of Goku's first Super Saiyan transformation, done by the team that animated the film itself. It's beautiful to look at, and you should definitely check it out.
It is really good, but something just felt off about his transformation. I saw that somebody had a side-by-side comparison with the two, so I clicked on it and gave it a look. The beam struggles look so good compared to the original, but something still didn't feel right about Goku's transformation into the Legendary Warrior. Then it hit me. Just one movement made the difference for me. Right before Goku turns into a Super Saiyan, he constantly tenses up and his neck twitches, showing the pure rage, the absolute hatred Goku has for Frieza at that moment. The redrawn version only has this once, but it's not nearly as tense. Then also in the original, and not in the remastered, is the way Goku's eyes go white, just before he goes gold. It's a little thing, but it shows the difference between Toei then and Toei now. There's life to the old Z animation.
Super does have a lot of good moments, but the animation looks too clean, when with Z everything was hand-drawn frame by frame, making it a lot easier to express that there was some grit, and when characters got the shit beat out of them, they really got the shit beat out of them. To their credit, the intros are really well animated and show some plot points, so that's something.
Animation is something Z strives in, so it makes sense that there isn't going to be a lot to compete with, including its sequel series. The point goes to Z.
So that's it. Z won. Now no one will be triggered. At least not that badly.
That's true. I hope that by the time Super comes to a close we can compare it to Z in the fullest.
Yeah.
So, what exactly were you and Putin talking about?
Nothing really that important, though. He did keep on insisting that I join him in getting a ham.
What did you say?
I asked him, why would I need a ham? And he replied with, because there may not be any turkey left by Thanksgiving.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Go check out my buddy Art's channel, The Art of Anime. Links will be in the description below. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.